Senors and senoritas, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And I'm joined this week by El Pablo Chacon, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother. How you doing?
Oh, living the dream, man. And UFC Mexico City is in the bags, and it's one that I enjoyed. I got to admit, I was kind of hoping for a few more finishes, and I don't know how you graded the card and what you thought about it, but the Ground and Pound podcast, as always, is going to go through the entire card, starting with the prelims all the way up to the main event, breaking down the whole entire thing in case you missed it. But honestly, I would give this one about a C. I don't think the altitude necessarily affected too many fights, and I enjoyed it overall. We did pretty well on the bets. Me and Carlos absolutely crushed in the picks. I think we only got maybe like 2 wrong out of the whole card, so we're very happy with that. Nice bounce back from last week. What did you think of the card, Carlos? And what would you give it as an overall grade?
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I think overall it was about a C. But fights were very entertaining. Entertaining in the fact that you know, it went a little longer than you thought they were gonna go. Like I thought that maybe the finishes would come a little quicker. Um, Also, Lazy Boy, what are you doing to me, man? I wanted him to win so bad because he ruined my parlay. So yeah, we're gonna have to have a talk, big guy. And you know, for all the grounded pound listeners out there, I just want to let you know I was so happy, even though he was able to get back up a second or two later. I'm very happy that Medina got put out. I wish he was out for 5-6 minutes or so, but beggars can't be choosers. I just can't wait till he gets knocked right out of the UFC.
What is it? What is it with you and hating the guys with the mustaches? And I know you're going to go on a couple of rants today about some of the young guys versus some of the old guys, and we can get right into it now. And so I can get my rant out the way. But dog of the week, unfortunately, didn't hit this week, and I don't hate the decision, guys. Austin Hubbard lost a split decision. He was our dog of the week play this week. And to be honest with you, I didn't hate the decision purely because I felt like it could have gone either way. I think really it all came down to the elbow in the third round. If you guys missed it, Austin Hubbard lost the first round. He started slow like he tends to do in a few of his fights. Was it Markel Menendez or whatever his name is? But that fucking bum. He's nothing special at all, but he came out. Austin Hubbard was able to take his back in the second round. Almost choked him, as you can see on one of the images on your screen. I honestly thought he might have got that choke. I was pretty excited sitting and watching at home. And then third round comes around. Austin Hubbard gets like 2.5, 3 minutes of control time. I thought he was on his way to victory. I thought dog of the week was going to go 2 in a row. And as usual, man, the oldies they just run out of gas. I don't know what it is. He was able to get up off of his back and land one particular elbow, which you can see on the screen, which cut Austin Hubbard's head open, causing him to gush a lot of blood. And I think that swayed the judges in round 3, and I think that ultimately cost him the decision. And my man Hubbard can't get a break, and I think he's going to be done. I don't necessarily think that they're going to continue to keep him around. I think that's maybe 3 in a row that he's lost now. I think 2 of them as well by split decision. So pack your bags, Hubbard. The only thud that we're going to hear from you is probably the door as it hits you on the way out. So unlucky dog of the week. Sometimes we win some with the judges. Sometimes we lose some. It happens. I think we bounce back next week. What did you think of the fight, Carlos? And did you agree with the decision?
I agree with the decision. Fight was close. Wouldn't have been upset if it went towards Hubbard too, because in that last round it was kind of back and forth with the action. The only thing that I don't like, and we did talk about it, it was a slight advantage in the age, but I'm just hoping that when you see this right here, the age isn't that big of a gap. But even at 28 and 33, you don't know when Hubbard's going to have a decline because every fight's a war for him. You should be pushing the pace and getting in his face and making him, fight at your pace. And I don't know what it is about Markel. I don't know if he's if Hubbard hits like a beast. I don't know what he was worried about, but he was a little hesitant being offensive. And in the last round, he did turn it up because he had to. So luckily the judges gave it to him. I'm not upset with the decision. I'm just upset with the fact that, youth is a weapon. 33 does not mean you're old in the sport, but you got to use it. You got to get the output higher. Your muscles are going to clear that lactic acid out a lot faster than somebody else that's older. So push the pace.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't hate the decision either. This is the thing. I always try and stay pretty neutral, regardless of who we're betting on, regardless of whoever, we've picked and stuff. But the way that I looked at it was damage was the main criteria of what we look at in MMA. And I think that elbow was the damaging shot that I think cost him the third round. And if you look at, in terms of what Austin was able to do, he was able to get a lot of control time with the second round and third round. But ultimately, the damage came from his opponent. And that was what cost him the decision. And like I said as well, if you watch my best bets video that comes out every Friday, I had some keys to victory for this particular matchup, and Austin did everything I expected him to do. I expected him to come out, grapple, push the pace, use his experience, and I think honestly one of the things that really surprised me was how easily he was able to get those takedowns. And like I said in my video, like I said in our breakdown last week, I wasn't that impressed with Markel at all. He does not stand out to me as anything special, and he's definitely not going to be getting my money anytime soon either. So dog of the week, unfortunately, I think we bounce back next week. It's all good, and that's my rant over. Pretty tame one this week for the Ground and Pound podcast listeners. And next up, we had Jamall Emmers saying night-night to Gabriel Miranda. I have to admit, I was kind of surprised a little bit that he went to the ground with Miranda. That had me a little bit concerned for our pick, but he was able to stay on top. The choke wasn't really in the right spot. It was off at a different angle. And Jamall Emmers was able to say adios to Gabriel Miranda, getting the knockout in the first round. He looked good. He looked more athletic, like me and Carlos said. And I did want to ask you as well, Carlos, did you notice that Bruce Buffer actually made a mistake announcing Gabriel Miranda as the winner, even though Emmers won? Did you notice that at all?
I did not notice that. No.
If you guys go back and watch it, you'll see that when he announces it, he announces Miranda as the winner, and then he kind of stands there and goes to correct his mistake, and then DC starts interviewing Jamall Emmers, and DC and Bruce Buffer are like looking at each other like, "Don't worry about it, dude." And then Bruce Buffer's like, "No, let me do it." And Bruce Buffer kind of has this look on his face. It's like an angry parent where he's just like very disappointed in DC for not letting him correct it. So we know Bruce Buffer takes his work very seriously, but he did not look happy with himself at his performance. So basically a 10-8 for Gabriel Miranda in that situation. But Emmers did what he was supposed to do. I was happy with our pick. I think it went exactly how we thought it was going to in terms of the striking advantage that Emmers had. And yeah, put him out. I thought he was going to get a bonus. Found out that he did not get a bonus. But yeah, a good pick for us. And what did you think of the fight overall, Carlos? And what do you say to Bruce, man?
Mistakes were made. That's fine. The Bruce Buffer thing is not that big a deal to me, but I will go back and check it out. The one thing that I thought was, I thought Miranda was going to have more of a game plan to get Emmers down, and he clearly thinks that if I'm gonna get you hurt on the feet and then take you down, and none of his fights that has ever happened very well for him. Emmers, he's known for hurting people early, and it was no different. It's just Miranda couldn't come back from it. He tried to be tough about it. Yeah, it's kind of what I expected, but this was one of those ones where I said, hey, maybe Miranda can get that second victory because it looks like he has that pattern of win one, lose one. Maybe this was the win one. And yeah, I don't know if he deserves to stay in the UFC if you can't find a way to get the fight where you need it to be. But either way, it'll weed him out. So
yeah,
good job, Jamall Emmers.
I think it's just a testament as well that MMA as a sport as a whole in 2025, you can't just be a guy that has high-level jiu-jitsu and have no means to get the fight to the ground, and you don't have the striking to be competitive. And if you're so one-dimensional, I think in 2025, I think you're going to get exposed, especially at this level. And with a guy like Jamall Emmers, don't get me wrong, we've seen him get submitted, but he's been submitted by guys like Pat Sabatini and jumping in his guard after he dropped him, whereas I don't see Miranda, and we said this in the breakdown, I don't see Miranda having that same level of success on the ground. And it just goes to show that the second that Jamall Emmers got on top, he was able to stay safe. And yeah, like I said, Jamall Emmers did exactly what he was supposed to do. Shout out to him. And adios, Gabriel Miranda. I think that might be it for him. And next up, we had Rafa García taking on Vinc from Hell Pichel. And I didn't have too many... there's nothing surprised me in this fight other than the judges' scorecards. And we had Rafa García, so I just want to show how unbiased I am about my rants and about judges' decisions here. And that there's no fucking way that Vinc Pichel should have lost a 30-27 on two judges' scorecards. To me, it's 29-28 all over. I would give I'd give Rafa García rounds 1 and 3. Vinc Pichel won round 2 very clearly to me, and I don't understand what the judges are looking at. Clearly, they're being affected by the pro-Mexico crowd. I felt like Vinc looked good in the second round. He looked like his cardio was still there. He was throwing big shots. He had a nice teep kick up the middle that Rafa said was bothering him to the stomach. Honestly, I don't want to say surprised, because I think Vinc from Hell Pichel is pretty tough, but like I said on the other show as well, one hell of a mustache. I was just a little bit surprised and shocked by the scorecard, but I did think Rafa won just purely because a lot of the shots that Vinc was landing was the jab and the teep, whereas Rafa was landing in combinations with the big right hand and the 1-2 and things like that. He was mixing in the takedowns, so I did give it to Rafa, but Vinc actually outlanded him quite considerably in terms of significant strikes. But did you agree with the decision, Carlos, or did you kind of have your argument with that? And did you think that Rafa actually won the fight?
No, I thought that Rafa won the fight. I also didn't think it was 30-27 either. I thought, I can give him 2, and I can give Vinc Pichel 1. And this is another case of you're waiting for the older vet to get off first. Not a lot of output by Garcia. Those are the things that upset me because he can press the fight. How easily he got those takedowns. He could have been doing that the entire time, just trying to, stay out of harm's way. He was eating a lot of kicks up the middle, to the body. He was eating a lot of jabs. One of them ended up being an eye poke. Luckily, the fight didn't have to get stopped. There's no problem with it. But ate a lot of jabs, ate a lot of kicks to the body, unnecessarily, when you could have dominated the fight by taking them down with ease. Every time he wanted to, he went up for the right and came down. So, this is another one of those lessons again. Push the pace. He's 42. If you fight at his pace, he's going to win because he's a wily veteran. He's got all these little tricks. Go after him. I guess, to me, Rafa didn't have a lot of output in a lot of his other fights either. And if he couldn't hurt you right away, he doesn't have a lot of volume. So that's something that this fight kind of showed to me, was that, and it also showed he has no head movement, because no matter where Vinc Pichel was, if he threw down the middle, Rafa's head was right there waiting to eat that punch. So, yeah, Rafa, you got a lot of work to do before you can make it in that division. But, it was a good decision. I thought Rafa won.
Rafa did mention as well in his post-fight interview that he felt the nerves pretty heavily from fighting in Mexico and wanted to do his country proud, and maybe that extra added pressure just kind of lacked in his performance. But I did agree with the decision as well, and I don't necessarily know if they're going to cut Vinc Pichel, but I definitely think that he might be on his way out. And he posted online as well that he thought it was a robbery, but I don't think it was a robbery. I just think that they got the second round incorrect. But hats off to Rafa. He did the job for us in the confident parlay leg, and he got it done. And another pick that the Ground and Pound podcast could celebrate. And honestly, I talk a lot of shit about women's MMA, people. If you're not new to the channel and you're familiar with my rants about women's MMA, they've been proving me wrong in the last few weeks. And I just want to sit here and say, I don't apologize for anything, but this one was a great fight. This one was an absolute banger. This had some spice to it. This one really delivered. I honestly think this is probably one of the best fights on the card. Godinez was able to get the takedowns, like Carlos and I said in our breakdowns, and I think that ended up being the factor that decided the first 2 rounds. Polastri is an absolute animal. In the third round, she just looked like a Terminator. She just kept coming forward. She had her hands down at one point, swinging bombs, swinging shovel uppercuts. She just did not stop. Like, she was just eating punches to the face, and she just kept coming. And she is a tough SOB. I will say that she's got some toughness. And don't get me wrong, it's not going to work out very well for her. She's always eating punches to the face, but she showed that she's got some toughness. I think if she can defend takedowns and keep fights on the feet, she's dangerous. She'll probably work on her boxing a little bit more. I think the Muay Thai style with the big kicks, knees, and elbows is definitely her strength, but I think the hands need a little bit of work. But she impressed me, and she showed a lot of toughness. And honestly, shout out to both these ladies, because I was impressed with the performance. This fight was probably my favorite fight on the card. What did you think of this performance overall, Carlos? And what did you think of the fight?
Well, we knew that Polastri is, she likes to be very physical, and she wants to be in your face. She wants to hurt you on the feet. And that's one of the things that I like about it. The only problem is she decided to defend the takedowns in the third round, more so because Godinez was a little fatigued. As long as you get a shoulder in on her and you grab a leg, Polastri will fall down. She has absolutely no balance whatsoever in the early portions of the fight where the wrestlers are fresh. Godinez did a great job with boxing on the inside, in the first round. One of the greatest parts of this fight was DC yelling "power bomb" like Psycho Sid. Absolutely love that, man. That's the first thing I thought, power bomb, whether it's Big Daddy Cool or Psycho Sid. It was awesome to see the power bomb, and Polastri, the back of her head did hit the ground like the mat. So I was surprised she didn't go out, but ballsy in the last round, hands down, trying to lure Lupi Godinez in, and Lupi not backing down. She was eating shots too. Like, she got bloodied up in the last round. She got touched up a bit. And, that was a war. And it was entertaining. One of the best on the card. And Polastri will be around whether she gets another loss or not, because you're not going to see a lot of girls that got the cojones that she's got. But Lupi Godinez, that's a good victory. And, exactly the way we said that she should fight, she did. Went for the takedowns, mixed in the wrestling, the boxing, and got it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to say this as well. I don't think anybody got fight of the night bonus. I would have liked to have seen Dana give these two fight of the night. Give it to the chicas. Give it to the chicas.
This didn't get fight of the night?
No, it didn't get fight of the night. And neither did this one either. Costa against Christian Rodríguez, man. And I like this decision. He's building momentum in the division. That's 3 wins in a row now. 2 come by, I believe it was guillotine, and now he's got a decision over Christian Rodríguez. And he was an underdog that I was going to bet on in the Best Bets video, but all of a sudden decided to take him out. And I wish I did. I wish I kept him in. He would have helped us make a little bit more money this week. But Costa's building momentum, man. That's 3 in a row for him. And I think Christian Rodríguez, honestly, I just feel like he's a bit of a weight bully at this point. He goes down to a lower division, misses weight, and then fights a prospect coming up who's a lot younger than him, and he beats them. He comes up to the weight above and fights some of the bigger guys like Costa and Rosa, and he seems to struggle. And I think if he can't get guys who are, like Costa to the ground, when he did get them to the ground, Costa was able to out-scramble him, have success. I think Costa did a lot more damage in the fight, and I think that he was the rightful winner. So shout out to him for getting it done. Not necessarily the best fight. A lot of clinch work in the up against the cage from Christian Rodríguez, but some entertaining scrambles in this one. And what did you think overall, Carlos, of this performance from Costa? And do you think that he's going to do anything in this division?
I don't know if he's going to do anything in this division, and I did like his performance tonight, but he ended up fighting a lot from behind because of Rodríguez's wrestling. It kept him on his toes. It kept him honest. I don't know why he wasn't trying to create separation and try to land some strikes, but even when that was the case, Rodríguez also was getting a little bit more of his jab in than Melky in certain situations. So Melky kind of abandoned his kicks. He's usually pretty good with landing those kicks to the lead leg. And, he usually throws some hammers. And whenever he was getting ready to land them, he was eating a jab. So, Christian did very good there. The one thing about Christian that I do like, even though he was undersized in this fight, this is why he had a lot of problems controlling Melky, was he's very composed, and he knows the next movie wants to go to and the next movie wants to go to. So I'm surprised that he doesn't have more success, or maybe just doesn't, fight at a smaller weight class where, he can actually like bully guys around. But yeah, I mean, you said he bounces up and down, and this is one of those cases. He bounces up. He's getting the better of the guy in the clinch and taking him down. Had a lot of takedowns, but on those sweeps, but he just can't control him down. They can't keep him down. Whereas Melky was able to keep him on his back whenever he reversed position. So I think it would be a good idea. Probably go down the weight class from here, but they said he kind of bulked up to get to that weight class. He doesn't look very bulky. I think, let's not get into a Kelvin Gastelum moment here saying you don't want to make the weight and your body is clearly ready to make the lower weight class. So, yeah, I think that I don't know how Melky is going to do. His stand-up isn't very technical on the ground. He's pretty solid, but if he had to go up against a wrestler his size, I don't know how he fares in this fight. Because he was fighting from behind for most of it. But good job, Melky. You were on my parlay, even though I didn't make it. I was happy that I got the victory.
Yeah, I think Christian Rodriguez needs to just get his weight under control and stay in the lower weight class. I didn't really like the move up. He's not a particularly big flyweight in the first place. And shout out to Costa for getting it done, man. And I didn't bet him, but obviously thank you for doing my buddy's parlay here and helping him out. And I got to say, I'm actually pretty impressed with Costa's ability to scramble. It always impresses me. I think his submissions are pretty live. He's pretty good off of his back. He's pretty good with the guillotine. And I would have liked to have seen him use a little bit more striking in this fight. I think that's something he probably needs to work on if he wants to move up the ranks. But 3 in a row is nothing to be sniffed at in the UFC. So shout out to him for getting it done. And that brings us to our first bonus of the night. And honestly, Mini Francis Ngannou, man. I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with this guy. And it just goes to show you that I do think athleticism can be a real factor in MMA up until a certain point. Obviously, I think we've seen in the past that guys have been exposed who don't have good takedown defense. And I was impressed with his performance. The knee up the middle, I said to Carlos that I would like to have seen the referee give Medina a little bit longer to maybe fight back, just purely because his whole game is built around toughness. It's not necessarily that he's skilled at all in any facet other than toughness. So I would have liked to have seen his leash be a little bit longer as far as seeing if he can recover from that knee. But ultimately, I was impressed, and that knee up the middle did the job. $50K bonus. For the UFC debuter, the altitude didn't play a factor here, and he got the job done and knocked the guy out. So happy with him. And I know that Carlos wants to say a little something about Medina here, and I'm pretty sure it's all sunshine and rainbows. Am I right, Carlos?
No, I mean, you get to the UFC, you work hard. I understand all that. Okay, and on the regional scene, you can see why he's made it to the UFC. He's probably got a lot of victories because he's outlasted a lot of his opponents. On the regionals, you don't meet the most durable people all the time, especially at the 185-pound class. So to get a guy that can probably take a beating, entertain the crowd, and then come back and win because the other guy's completely gassed, I'm sure people are like, oh, he's going somewhere. He's tough. And that's great. His toughness got him this contract. And I think that's awesome. But when he comes down to the ring and he's dancing and he's celebrating and he's feeling himself, getting in there, feeling warm, you have to know that you don't belong there. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be something in your mind that's saying, like, I don't belong here, or I got to prove that I belong here. He doesn't have the ability to do anything. So he hit, I think, Gautier, he hit him maybe 2 times, hit him in the shoulder. It was like a slap. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to hurt anybody. I've seen in his old fights, he throws a strike, even a kick, does nothing. It doesn't. He's got to wait for you to be completely gassed, completely tired from beating him to get the upper hand. I'm not a fan of that, and I think I think I've said it too many times already. He's just taken a spot on the roster for someone that deserves to be there. Whereas Gautier, he's a new face, athletic, And at those big weight classes, you have the time to learn the techniques, especially if you have the athleticism, and you can possibly make a run, make a move. But if he was a smaller weight class, anything 170 and down, like those are tough. Maybe even 170, you could throw it in there, but highly doubtful. Those guys, you can find all of them in the gym. They're all there. They're technical. They're athletic, and it's hard to make a name for yourself there. So I think Gautier is going to have a little bit of success here. I wasn't too nervous of him gassing out in case this went 3 rounds because I've seen him go 5. Um, he was a pretty confident pick for me, and he didn't disappoint. So I'm looking forward to the next matchup they give him. And this guy is built like a silverback. It is impressive.
Yeah, he does look like me. You're right. I got to say as well, I was pretty impressed with Medina's slut drop. I've never seen a grown man do a slut drop on the way to the cage. That was pretty impressive. But yeah, I think Medina's just there, and I do think he takes up a roster spot. And if you guys missed it, Carlos, I said to Carlos on our full card breakdown when we broke down this fight that we do on a Wednesday that Medina's basically like one of those punch bags that you have as a kid. And it's an inflatable one, and you see the kids punch it, and it just pops right back up, and it's literally impossible to knock down. That's basically Medina's fighting style. As you get tired, he's basically just a Homer Simpson. He takes a beating, and you get tired from punching him in the face. That's not a skill set that's going to win you fights in MMA, especially not at a high level like the UFC. And like I said, he's just taken up a roster spot as far as I'm concerned. So hats off to Gautier, super marketable guy, super jacked, super talented, and enjoy that 50K bonus, baby.
I'll tell you though, I can't believe that got a bonus, that fight. Stoppage, I'm not questioning it, but I can't believe that got a bonus and the girls didn't get a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to get on to Uncle Dana about that one. But honestly, talking about bonuses, talking about good performances, we do have to talk about one negative, and that's Lazy Boy, man. Lazy Boy, Ronaldo Rodríguez. He really let the team down, man. He was one of the only picks that we got wrong this week. And I do have to say, I mean, he just looked like not just a step slow. He looked like he was on a different universe in terms of speed compared to Kevin Borjas. And I'm annoyed at myself. I blame myself when it came to the pick very much so, because when I looked at the betting lines for this fight coming into the fight week and coming into my research, I had Lazy Boy, and I even said this on the full card breakdown, that I had him as a much bigger favorite over Kevin Borjas. And that should have told me right there that I didn't have a good opinion on the fight, because I thought he should have been a huge favorite. And it was the complete opposite. And not to say that I necessarily thought that Kevin Borjas was actually going to win, but he won all 3 rounds, 30-27, and rightfully so. He dropped Lazy Boy in multiple rounds. The highlight of Lazy Boy's performance was him getting dropped and doing a somersault to get back up. So back to the drawing board for him. I think he's a step slow in this division. I think Borjas was much faster. He likes to throw straight shots. Those straight shots landed. He was on his bike. He had good movement. So hats off to him. And he ruined, I think he ruined Carlos's parlay, and he definitely ruined one of mine. And I was disappointed, man. I like Lazy Boy. I would have liked to have seen him mix in the grappling, maybe use that a little bit more, but he was just swinging the air the whole time. So Lazy man, maybe we got to get you Rocky's coach and get you some speed, because that was abysmal. But Carlos, what did you think of the fight? And I know that this man cost you some money at the weekend, so let us know about it.
Yes, my big ticket parlay for $1, he ruined it. I would have got 50 something out of it. So, you know how it is. You got to acquire the money. Your winnings, today's winnings are future wealth, and that's how it goes when it comes to gambling. You just keep replaying it. Yeah, I thought he was going to do a lot better. Whereas, Borjas is not a chump. He's a guy that comes in, he's ready to swing, he's ready to be in your face, he wants to hurt you. And I thought that would have played right into Ronaldo's game plan, because he wants to mix it up. He wants you to come after him because he wants to open you up to take you down. He wants to open you up for some strikes. But he got the better of him, and I don't know what happened. Like he just didn't look like himself out there. So instead of talking about the bad performance by Lazy Boy, I guess I'll say Borjas actually stepped up. He did what he was supposed to do. Anyone other than Lazy Boy, he probably would have put him out with the shots that he was hitting him. Lazy Boy's a tough kid, and Borjas put it on him. So good job for him. And, when it comes to Rodríguez, you got to get back to the drawing board and figure out how do I get inside on these guys that got a little bit of reach on me. And it's not a huge amount of reach. The speed factor, I don't think was, too big. I just thought that Borjas was outquicking him, so he was just getting off. I don't think he's much faster than Ronaldo, so I really don't know what the deal was in the Ronaldo factor. I think Ronaldo's got it all. He's pretty quick, he's fast, and he hits like a tank, and he's got good ground game. He's got good takedowns, and he didn't put any of that together tonight.
Yeah.
Or last night. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that were ashamed of the winning there of $1 to win 50, I'd like to remind everybody that with that 50, you could probably buy yourself a whole carton of eggs in this current economy. So it would have been nice to win that one. It would have been nice to cash a parlay from Ronaldo. But I do like Lazy Boy, man. I do like him. And I'm not necessarily unaware of Kevin Rojas, but I do think the upside is definitely on Lazy Boy as who they want to promote in the UFC. And like Carlos said, man, back to the drawing board for you. And another 50K bonus went out to David Martinez for the first round knockout that he had. And he was in one of our parlays this week. And he looked great. I was really impressed with him. And I know that his opponent wasn't necessarily the best, but at the end of the day, he can only fight who's in front of him. And it was adios to Oliveira, man. He took a knee to the face. He took a nasty high kick at one point, which I thought his kicks looked pretty impressive. Martinez's karate style, he looks pretty decent on the feet. I was pretty impressed. I'd like to see some of his grappling in the future, but the hometown hero gets it done. He fights right out of Mexico City. Crowd goes wild to start off the main card, and 50 G's for him, so that'll go a long way. Nice UFC debut to get it done in Mexico City. I'm sure he's pretty happy with that performance. And what did you think of the performance, Carlos? Did you see it going that way, or were you surprised by anything in this fight?
No, in this one, I was pretty confident in how it was going to go. Although, Oliveira, I was expecting him to come out and, he's got that Thai boxing style, at least try to beat up the legs to get Martinez to start, stop moving around. And the guy's a little Mexican jumping bean. He's all over the ring. You can't keep him in one spot, and he darts in and out. And Oliveira, on the other hand, he doesn't stay busy, and it was the perfect opponent to, get the crowd going in Mexico City, because he just sat there waiting for that shot to come, and it put him right out. So good job, David Martinez and the UFC, for giving the hometown what they needed. That was a big knockout on a night where there wasn't a lot of big knockouts, so we needed that one.
Yeah, absolutely. You must have read my mind. I was thinking the same thing, that performance and that knockout definitely set the tone for the main card and got the fans going, because for those of you that didn't know, there was a lot of decisions up until that point, and not a whole lot of finishes. So it was probably even sweeter for him, being the hometown guy in front of the Mexico fans, to be able to get that done in a stylistic fashion and take home 50K. So hats off to him. Looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. And as far as Oliveira, I think that's 3 in a row now he's lost, so he's probably getting cut. So, and that brings us to Chihuahua. We have Rojas Jr. and not necessarily the greatest performance in the world. I said to Carlos before we started the show today that I do like Rojas Jr. and I do give him a little bit of extra leeway, a little bit of a longer leash. The guy is still only 20 years old, started off when he was like 17. So, he is going to take time to develop, not just as a human being, but as a fighter. He's showing improvements all the time. His wrestling looks like it's improved. His control is very good. His stand-up is something that's ever evolving. And, this is a nice performance. And he had moments where he faced some adversity. He was able to get through those. In a DAS choke in one moment that Vince Morales was able to put him in. Peruvian necktie a couple of times. And at the end of the day, the legend of Chihuahua lives on. I'd like to see him continue to build, and for Hunter and for Dana and the guys to continue to give him matchups, not necessarily that favor him, but just slowly build him up. Let's not give him somebody too out of his depth too soon. But what did you think overall of the performance, Carlos? And talk to us a little bit about the submissions that we were talking about with the Peruvian necktie and Morales, and what you thought about that whole game plan move going forward in that fight.
Well, as we discussed earlier, I thought it was a pretty stupid game plan to, number one, it's a great submission if you hit it, because that squeeze will come on quick. The only other problem is he's gone for it several times in the fight, and Rojas was able to tuck his head right into his abdomen, which kept him from getting that leg over. Now then he ends up switching to the anaconda choke. Problem being is Rosas was able to spin in and then get out of that particular mover. He had a lot of room on his shoulder, so as Vinc is squeezing, he should know that he's got a lot of room. I don't need to waste this energy. I don't know if he noticed that it wasn't in or what was going on, but he wanted that submission. He went for it a couple different times. I think he practiced it and said, I want to beat this kid as his own game in Mexico City. I want to make him look bad because Raul Rosas is known for his ground game. And Vince Morales is no slouch on the ground as well. He's got a lot of submission victories. The problem is if you can't get one, transition to the next one, transition to another one. He was getting desperate because I think he just wanted to highlight finish against a young prospect. I think he would have fared better if rounds 2 and 3 he stayed on the feet and tried to use some of the stand up because Rojas is still very green on the feet. And like we said earlier, once he puts it together on the feet, he doesn't have to become world class, but once he gets a feel for learning the jab, creating space, using his kicks and punches and knees and elbows, knowing that he's got these tools, I think that he's going to be a big problem because his ground game, his submissions come on fast when he's all over you, and he likes to swarm you. I mean, that could just be because he's 20 years old, but he does have that style where he likes to be right all over you, right on top of you, and a good stand-up base would help him being able to get somebody hurt before going for a submission, make life a lot easier for him. So keep working on the stand-up, buddy. I'm enjoying this Chihuahua train and keep it going.
Let me get a Chihuahua in the comments. Leave the Chihuahuas in the comments. But I was just about to say, can we get a Chihuahua from Carlos? But he already beat me to it. But yeah, I'm a big fan, man. At the end of the day, I mean, the kid's still only 20 years old, still evolving, like we said. And, he's building a fan base, which is what the UFC wants. They want fighters they can promote. And he's doing a good job right now. So hats off to him for getting it done in front of the Mexico City crowd. And that brings us to something that I wanted to talk about this week. And I labeled this sickness in the buffet. And obviously we were meant to see Joe Pyfer taking on Calvin Gastelum this weekend. And unfortunately, a few hours before the fight, Pyfer had to pull out due to sickness. And he said that his heart was broken and that, he was unhappy with the fact that he had to pull out of the fight. He said he felt super sick before the fight. He's hoping the fight can get rescheduled in a few weeks. Unfortunately, Calvin Gastelum has ballooned all the way up to 280 pounds by then, so he'll have to maybe rearrange it in next year. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see that one. Carlos and I both did pick Pyfer in that one, but we obviously said about Calvin Gastelum's how serious is he taking it, and there was a little short snippet where the camera actually went to Calvin Gastelum sitting in the audience, and he looked thrilled to be sitting in the crowd. He was probably happy about the fact that he could hit the buffet and, not had to worry too much about weight cutting anymore, and he didn't have to go in there and fight because he got the opportunity to eat some tacos. So if you haven't seen it already, Calvin Gastelum does have a show called Missing Weight with Calvin Gastelum. Check it out on YouTube. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, it was one that I was disappointed in, and I'll be honest with you, if Calvin Gastelum lost this one, I would have liked to have seen what they did with him moving forward. And I've never been the biggest Joe Pyfer fan, but my brother, you got to stop eating Mexican food before your fights. It's clearly not paying off for you and cause you to get sick. So unfortunately, he didn't get it done. Is there anything that you want to say about these two gentlemen, Carlos, before we move on?
No, pretty much I just want to address the fact that you said 280 pounds. Yesterday, I told this man something that I weighed myself, and I'm up around that 280-pound mark, and I'm not feeling myself anymore. And he had to put that out there that Calvin Gastelum ballooned up to 280 pounds. Oh, really? Is that bad? He's got the stomach that I got right now? I knew you threw that shot at me.
No, it wasn't thrown at you, but hold on. I'm just getting some live news. Yeah, okay. Right, okay. Yeah, so they've actually got a live counter on Calvin Gastelum's weight. He's in the last 2 minutes. He's actually ballooned up to 300 pounds. So, yeah, yeah, live count. We'll keep you updated as the show goes on. But yeah, I'd like to see what happens with Calvin Gastelum. Man, his weight needs to get in order, and the guy needs to stop goofing around. At the end of the day, he's still a ranked. I almost said ranked heavyweight because of the weights. But yeah, he needs to get his shit together. And Pyfer, hopefully, it's nothing serious. Hopefully, he can get back in there and put on a performance and continue to climb the ranks.
Well, the thing about Pyfer is he wants that fight rescheduled. Obviously, it's an easy victory for him. Calvin Gastelum against big grapplers, it's not going to be pretty. If he wants to take him down and control him for the rest of the round, he's going to do it each time. I think he'll get the better of him on the feet, even though Calvin's a little better striker. So I don't think anybody really wants that fight to be rescheduled, but that's up to Dana and them. I think Pyfer, if I were you, I'd move on to a better opponent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 310. Okay, cool. And I call this one all choked up, and we had Edgar Cháirez putting on a great performance, and yeah, he did exactly what I thought he was going to do, Carlos, and I thought he was going to smoke CJ Vergara. He went out there, his boxing's been improved. He went to a very high level boxing gym, showed off his hands, was able to land the smooth left hook, and that dropped CJ Vergara like CJ Vergara does, get dropped and beaten up in every single one of his fights. And he was able to get the rear naked choke, and Carlos and I were talking about it a little bit afterwards. He got choked up for something to do with his family or something to do with his grandfather paying for a surgery or something. I'm sure Carlos might be able to fill me in a little bit better. But in all honesty, he did what he was supposed to do. He went out there, he got the rear naked choke. He got on the mic, he got choked up, and he also can wipe his tears with 50 G's because Dana blessed him with 50 G's for that performance. So not necessarily all bad for him in terms of his performance. He's able to go home with a stack full of cash and another win under his belt. And like I said as well, not a lot of fight finishes on this card. He was able to get it done. So hats off to him. He was able to win us some money in the parlay as well. He was in one of our confident plays. And yeah, Carlos, what did you think of the fight? What did you think of the performance? And maybe it's adios for CJ Vergara moving forward.
Unfortunately, it is going to be adios for Vergara. He's not at the caliber basically this is going to happen the whole time. If you're going up against a guy who's a submission expert and he doesn't knock you out, he's going to choke him out. If he's going up against someone who's wants to stay on the feet, is well versed on the ground, kid's going to get put out like this all the time. I'm kind of tired of seeing him get hurt because he's not of that class. And is he Medina? No, he was a kid that won a tough fight in the Contender Series. I think he won one fight in the UFC, if I'm right. I'm just not sure. And you could just see where the skill discrepancy just came. Like, there was too big of a gap. He's a good regional guy. There's nothing wrong with that. He's got some skill. The problem is he's probably made a name on the regional scene based on his durability. That's not going to help in the UFC. Every time he gets clipped, he's going up against bigger punchers, bigger strikers, bigger people. The takedowns he can't stop. He can't see these shots coming. I don't know how he didn't see that left hook coming from Cháirez. He was pretty far out when he threw that. And that's fine. These things happen. So I'm sorry, but I don't think Vergara's going to be staying around. As for Cháirez, I understand you're emotional. You're able to help your grandfather out. After he's helped you out in your career, that's a beautiful moment. I get it. You cried your tears, you had your emotions. Let's get back to being that gunslinging guy that's ready to go and hurt someone. And this time, let's get some consistency in the victories. Don't go one and out, and get one. Just don't win one, lose one. Let's try to get some consistency. Get on a streak. I like you, Cháirez. I want to see you do good, brother.
Yeah, I agree. I do like Cháirez as well. Hold on. 315. We'll get him away from the buffet. What? Yeah. Anyway. I don't know what's going on with this guy. Anyway. But that brings us to the co-main event, and we had El Loco getting it done, and he was one of the people, obviously, we bet on in our best bets video. He was able to take home a $50K bonus, and one of the things I wanted to ask Carlos and what we wanted to talk about is obviously he was able to say adios to Drew Dober and get the stoppage like he always does. And I think that's something like 15 of his 17 wins coming in the first round now. And all by stoppage. And was it a El Loco stoppage? Did you agree with the stoppage? Did you think that he should have been given a little bit more of an opportunity to get back to his feet with Dober, or did you like the stoppage? What did you think, Carlos?
Listen, man, I thought he was. You got to give Drew Dober a chance. And like I said, before we started the show, you give him a chance. You give him a couple strikes, see if he makes it happen, because he was holding onto the leg. You don't know if he was about to work his way up. By the sixth strike, maybe you should probably think about hopping in. By strike number 15, 16 is when he did. At least he was sure that Dober it was going to be a good stoppage. He wasn't going to contest it. Now Dober gets up. He doesn't know where he is. He thinks the fight's still going. That's okay. It happens. A local got the stoppage. Mexico City went crazy. Dober, I don't know about Adios. He's a tough guy. He does win some big fights. I thought he was going to be able to come back from this, but in the parlay I did pick a loco to win. The one thing that made me hesitate before I picked Dober was the fact that El Loco throws some straight punches right down the middle, and Drew Dober likes to keep his guard wide. So I said I think that El Loco is going to land a bomb down the middle, whereas Drew Dober allows himself to get hit, and unfortunately that's what happened. When the commentators are yelling "Stop the fight," they're not in the apex, I don't think. And I'm sure the referee might be able to hear something. All I could think of was JR the whole time. Well, somebody stop the damn match. Just yelling, please, somebody jump in there.
Oh, dear
and the
God.
ref was hesitated. My God, he's dead. And that's all I'm thinking is the old WWE. But, he's a good ref. Who was that ref in that fight? I can't remember the guy with
Mike Beltran.
with the long beard. Beltran, yeah, he's a solid referee. I got no problem with him. He was trying to give Drew Dober a chance. And Drew, he gave it to you. And hats off to you for eating those shots and still getting back to your feet. Even though you don't know where you were, you're just a tough guy.
I got to tell a quick story here on the Ground and Pound podcast before we move on to the main event. And unfortunately for me, I was watching the event, and El Loco's getting announced by Bruce Buffer, and he's standing there, he's going crazy, and all of a sudden my Wi-Fi cuts out. And one of the things that you know as a MMA fan is that when the Wi-Fi cuts out and it's time to watch El Loco, that by the time that Wi-Fi comes back, the fight's probably going to be over. So unfortunately for me, I didn't see a single moment of this fight, so I had to go back and watch it today because the Wi-Fi went down. I'm seeing him get introduced, and by the time the Wi-Fi came back, he was doing his post-fight interview. And I will say I was celebrating, obviously, because we did have money on El Loco, which was fantastic. I was happy Torres was able to make his money, and maybe I was excited because he was able to make me some money. But I don't know what he said on the mic. I don't speak Spanish. But to me, he gets on the mic, and when he talks, I don't know what he says, but I like it. But it's like, bamba. It sounds brilliant, but I love it. But it reminds me of White Chicks, with the bamba. He said, bamba. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie, but it's great. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I missed that whole entire performance. I had to go back and watch it. Adios, Dober. I don't think you're going anywhere as far as the UFC, but one thing's for sure, El Loco definitely put you out. Did what he was supposed to do. 50 G's, made us some money. Happy for the performance, happy for the pick. And that brings us to the main event. Brandon Moreno was able to get it done against Steve Erceg, and this was a pretty technical fight. I was pretty impressed with this. It necessarily didn't deliver in terms of it being a banger, but I think it was more of a purist's fight. It was definitely, if you're a hardcore MMA fan, it was one for you to watch. And it really, to me, came down to the movement and the jab of Steve Erceg and his inability to maybe get the fight to the ground. I said to Carlos, I think I would have liked to have seen him grapple a little bit more. But Brandon Moreno looked locked in. He looked like he was the old Brandon Moreno of old. And I've said many times, I said it on the breakdown, I've said it for weeks, months, that when Brandon Moreno's on form, when he's locked in, when he looks mentally there, he looks like one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. He's very impressive. His boxing looks good. His ability to counter. I love the way he throws the overhand as Steve Erceg exits the pocket. Viva Mexico. Very impressed with the former champ. He got it done for us, the over 1.5 hit in our long leg parlay, and also had Brandon Moreno money line, so that was good. And yeah, like I said, he was able to cap off a successful night as far as the ground and pound picks and bets were concerned. So what did you think of the performance? And also, one of the things I did want to ask you was they said they're going to do a Mexico, I think it was Guatemala fight card later on in September. Would you like to see Brandon Moreno headline that card, Carlos, or would you like to see him maybe move him to the co-main event and put someone else on there? What did you think overall?
Oh no, I mean he's a big draw. He's gonna bring the asses to the seats. So that's what Brendan Moreno does. Uh, I thought the fight was very technical. Couple things that I noticed, as much as Brendan Moreno says that he works on his boxing a lot, so boxing to him is more second nature. He always dips his head to the side where he's throwing a punch. So if he throws with his left, going to the right where he turns his body, his head always dips to the right, which is not a bad thing, but he never used in the other direction, and he never really keeps his guard up. So by standing tall, Usyk should have probably threw some knees or an uppercut, knowing that his head was going to be there. I would have just threw an uppercut there or a knee, and hopefully it would have landed. But I don't think he's that level of a striker to know that. So he wasn't really actually trying to operate on that level. Whereas Moreno was kind of getting away with doing whatever he wanted. He was throwing the lead hook in, and with a guy, he kept his guard up pretty good. At least the right hand, he was blocking the left hook, but he was eating some straight rights from Moreno right down the middle, and it's like he couldn't even see it coming. So maybe, Usyk is meant to be in this weight class. He's if the size difference was that big, which there was a little bit of a size difference in favor of Usyk. He's got to find a way to wrangle some of these smaller guys and impose himself on them. So if you're throwing that jab, and then you throw a kick, you got to try to change levels, whether you're going for a takedown or not, just to put it in their mind that, you know what, I got to be worried about this guy being a wrestler. And then they don't know when you're going to come in. So it'll make them think twice about throwing a bomb at you, because now they got to make sure they're on balance. They can recoil. But, Usyk is a solid fighter. He lost to 3 high-level guys. There's nothing to be ashamed of. He'll be back, and he's a high-level guy himself. And we talked about the speed discrepancy, and I think that's what it is, because if Moreno could hit like Kai Kara France, fight would have been over in the first round.
Yeah.
He just needs to be able to, as you have here, written locked in. He's got to get locked in and try to time guys a lot better that are faster. I mean, it's the only thing that's going to beat them is get off first and, at least feint, get them to move when they don't want to, and then drop something on them. But he's got a little bit to do because he's a little bit outmatched when it comes to the speed in this weight class. And, he'll be back. I like Usyk. He's a good dude.
Yeah, Steve Carell, I'm pretty impressed with Steve Usyk as a whole. I feel like Steve Carell in his mind he needed to put a little bit more volume out there. Like Carlos said, I think the knee up the middle would have been a good weapon. He did use it once and then never really went back to it. And I did remember DC saying pretty much exactly what I was thinking throughout the whole fight. He was saying, I just feel like Steve Usyk is allowing Brandon Moreno to just bank rounds. Brandon Moreno's just being that busier guy, throwing a little bit more out there. Even when it's not landing, he's being the aggressor. Steve Usyk's fighting on the outside, not throwing anything other than really the jab. And I didn't really understand the controversy between the rounds and is this 2-2 going into the fifth? I gave Brandon Moreno, I thought it was 3-1 going into the fifth, and then I gave Brandon Moreno the fifth as well. So I didn't really understand the controversy, and I felt like Brandon Moreno pitched almost a shutout, really. I felt like you could have arguably given Usyk rounds 2 or 3. But even then, I still favored Moreno in both of those rounds, to be honest. So hats off to Moreno. He was able to get it done. Carlos, what did you have the scorecard before we wrap things up? What did you have it scored as?
No, like I said, I had 4-1 for Moreno. When I saw that they thought it might be close going into the last one, I don't know what fight they were watching. Usyk was doing enough to look busy, but he was fighting off of his back foot. There was really no damage done to Moreno. There was a couple of times where Usyk got popped pretty good in each round, and I don't know what they were seeing or anybody was seeing that would make that 2-2 going into the fifth, but I said anybody can witness a crime. Like 15 people can witness a crime and see it 15 different ways. It happens all the time, and judging is no different. If you're partial to one fighter or the other, if you're more partial, then yeah, you're gonna go that way, and everything they do is gonna sway you in that way. But yeah, it was pretty obvious that Moreno won 4 rounds. I was pretty solid on giving Usyk round 3 because, like I said, the output from Moreno went down there, so I thought he was trying to get a rest in between the round for the next 2 rounds. So, that could have been the issue, or he could have just been like waiting for Usyk to actually, get a counter on him. But Usyk didn't offer any of that. The one thing I did see that was very interesting was at the end of the fight, Usyk looked like he was kind of surprised that he lost.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're in there, you feel like you're the man, that you're winning if you're not getting knocked out. But he was far from winning. So I don't know what. When he goes back to watch the video, like, I'm sure he'll realize there's more I could have done to get this fight in my favor.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Steve Carell needs to get back to that evasive parkour or change his tactics, and that's all we got time for in the Ground and Pound podcast. And we're going to have to cut it short because I just heard in my ear that Calvin Gastelum might be on his way to eat one of the flyweights. So we're going to have to wrap things up. And before we do, I just want to say adios to all of the people. Obviously, the Spanish people, Mexicans, and really enjoyed that. Fighting spirit that they always show every week. And if you aren't aware, we do have a full card breakdown coming to you this Wednesday for the PFL. Not a lot of people cover the PFL. The Ground and Pound podcast has got you covered. They've got the World Tournament first round coming up. We're going to get you guys a full breakdown on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have the Murphy taking on Emmett full card breakdown for the event this Saturday over at the Apex. So, like I said, covering everything over here on the Ground and Pound podcast. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button for all the MMA content. We've got much more coming on the channel, which we'll break to you once we have that all planned out. And like I said, keep an eye out for both of those videos. Keep an eye out for the Best Bets video every single Friday that I do. And before we wrap things up, Carlos, is there anything that you'd like to say to all of these gringos that are watching us?
No, I just, we're trying to make the show better every week. So I hope everybody's watching, and I hope everyone that's watching is enjoying it. If you have anything you'd like to add to it, leave it in the comment section. And I'm trying to get my sound here as best I can because, I made this nice little section of the house. So if the echo is bothering you this week, it won't be bothering you next week. And I promise you, we'll be back on track.
Yep. Amen to that. And like I always say, hit that like and subscribe button, guys, if you enjoy the content. Keep an eye out for the videos up and coming. We're going to cover all the different events if we can. We'll try and get as much content to you as possible. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.